When Sony released the WF-1000XM4s, it probably counted on its lead in the true wireless space to remain for a while to come. So do the Soundcore Liberty 3 Pro poop all over Sony's party? That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Poop.
Goedendag, weer DHRME, developing high-resolution multimedia every day. Sony's strongest suit is its sheer noise-cancelling power, so let's start with that. The Soundcore has two transparency modes, vocal and fully transparent, and to be honest, there's not really a difference between the two modes except a little bit more hiss in vocal mode. Sony's transparency is clearly louder, and there's a clearer difference when you focus on voice. Lower end frequencies are pretty absent. On the Liberty 3, not only is the overall volume lower, but also there's more of a hiss present.
ANC is similar between the two. The Sony might be very slightly better, but if you put the ANC of the Soundcore on a $400 pair of earbuds, I would still take them. This one's for all you Bowers & Wilkins apologists out there. And hey, you don't believe us? Hear the difference for yourselves.
Okay, the Sony XM4 is marginally louder and they sound fine. But the Liberty 3 Pro, smoke the Sony WF-1000 XM4. This is just bullshit. The dual drivers on the Soundcore are really showing who's boss here. The one good thing about the Sonys was that the EQ gave you a ton of customization options. But that advantage also goes to the Soundcore Liberty 3 Pro. They take EQ really well. The one place where there's a slight difference is that the Sonys are a little bit more consistent with ANC and transparency mode on, whereas we detected a slight change in character on the Soundcore with ANC on and off. But man, that's like saying that the knocked out boxer had better looking gloves. Bad jokes apart, for the Soundcore, volume is louder on Android on LDAC compared to iPhone, and even though iPhone doesn't have the best codec, it still sounds great. Don't get too obsessed with the codec names. Hardware and tuning have shown us time and again that they matter more than codecs.
Now you know us, we go deep into the beep with our frequency response charts, and we wanted to do a bass, mids, treble, soundstage comparison, but we abandoned that discussion midway through the A/B testing because there's simply no point. This round is for the Soundcore Liberty 3 Pros, and shots have been fired here. Sony needs to up its game.
When it comes to extras and features, both of these support single bud use. Sony still has that weird bug though, where if you enable Google Assistant, you can't use the left bud just on its own. So don't do that. Don't do Google Assistant. Both have touch controls, although I think the Sony's touch controls are a little bit more responsive. However, you get volume control in combination with all the regular media playback on the Soundcore, which in our view gives it the win. This in practice though can be a little bit of a problem because one tap is volume up and double tap is play pause, and while you're trying to pause you may end up raising volume. It has happened with me a couple of times, but it's probably something I just have to get used to, and we would have much rather seen a swipe rather than a tap, but hey, there you have it. And hey, if you don't like this, you can disable just the single tap and have everything else still work, or disable just the double tap or the long tap. So much customization. We've always said that the Sony has some of the best customization out there. It's a great feature set on the app, but you can customize the Soundcore till your newborns grow up and go to college. It's crazy. Not just the controls we mentioned, but for sound. Presets, check. 3D audio, check. Custom hearing profile to suit your own hearing, check. Full EQ controls, also check. And on ANC and transparency, there's not so much customization, but Salah, who needs 20 stops on a noise cancelling scale? Now, Soundcore kills it by bringing another feature to the table that almost no other buds do: multi-point. You can successfully connect to two devices simultaneously and switch between the two. I tested this on a Samsung phone and a Mac, and it worked very well if you pause music on one device and play on the other. I also tested it with iPhone and Android. So if you have two phones from two different ecosystems, you can stay connected to both of them at the same time, which is a big deal because if you buy stuff from Samsung, it doesn't work on an iPhone, and if you buy Apple AirPods, well, you know how that story ends. You will have to sacrifice LDAC when you do this though, but for most people, me included, this is a trade-off well worth it because this still sounds pretty good without LDAC to our ears. You can also select which device you can connect to within the app. So it's also quite visual and easy to understand which devices you're connected to. And you can use the app on any connected device, Android or iOS, to tweak settings on the buds, which is very, very cool. On the Sony, you may not get multiple device support, but you can still switch devices by just forcing connect from a previously connected device. And this has worked flawlessly in daily use. So if you don't mind pulling up the Bluetooth menu, the Sonys aren't that bad either, but certainly not as convenient as staying connected to two devices and switching on the fly.
As very superficial people, we think that the Sonys have a winning design here, with the noise-cancelling mic giving the XM4 a very unique look. The case is also tiny and very compact, extremely pocketable. The Liberty 3 Pro have some things for it as well. Even though the design is a bit bigger, they certainly aren't ugly. They come with many more colors than the Sony, and they have a nice LED light which doubles up as a light inside the case once you slide the case open. That sliding mechanism is very well designed with a little lip you can use to push with your thumb, which means one-handed use is doable. Coming back to the buds, the XM4s have a nice chunky surface to hold on to while adjusting the buds. This makes it easier to adjust in your ear since you don't accidentally end up hitting the touch surface. This was unfortunately a problem with the Soundcore, but as we said in the fit, we had to adjust them far fewer times. So depending on your conchas, this may or may not be a problem.
The Liberty 3 Pro has many silicone tips with wing-like thingies to hold it in place, whereas Sony puts its money on the hybrid foam tips. And you know how we feel about these tips, right? Good passive isolation, but they truly suck at comfort. We are silicone men here at DHRME, and we do have really medium ears. So the medium tips fit my ears just fine, and they were very comfortable for long periods of time as well. And both of these are gym worthy because they're IPX4 sweat and water resistant, but they won't withstand dust, so don't go mountain biking in a desert on these. Coming to the build, Sony's case is much creakier than the Soundcores, which does not reflect the price difference. Both come with wireless charging and advertise 8 hours of battery life, which is of course a guidance and will change depending on which codec you use, ANC strength, volume, and microphone usage. Phone call controls aren't great on either. You can answer, hang up, and reject on the Soundcore and not much more. The XM4s can, in addition to hanging up and accepting calls, also switch the call to your phone with a long press, which is an additional feature. Neither the Soundcore nor the Sony can adjust volume while on calls, and that's a little bit disappointing to see. The Soundcore comes with 6 mic AI uplink noise reduction, and the Sony has precise voice pickup technology with beamforming microphones and a bone conduction sensor. But you didn't come here for a marketing pitch. So let's just see how they really fare, shall we? Enjoy the test, and if you want to just proceed to the conclusion, use the YouTube chapter down below. Sony WF-1000 XM4, quiet conditions. Pop, pop, popsicle, ice, ice, icicle, test, test, testing, 1, 2, 3. Pop, pop, popsicle, ice, ice, icicle, test, test, testing, 1, 2, 3. Soundcore Liberty 3 Pro, quiet conditions. Pop, pop, popsicle, ice, ice, icicle, test, test, testing, 1, 2, 3. Pop, pop, popsicle, ice, ice, icicle, test, test, testing, 1, 2, 3. Sony WF-1000 XM4, noisy conditions. Pop, pop, popsicle, ice, ice, icicle, test, test, testing, 1, 2, 3. Pop, pop, popsicle, ice, ice, icicle, test, test, testing, 1, 2, 3. Liberty 3 Pro, noisy cafe conditions. Pop, pop, popsicle, ice, ice, icicle, test, test, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Popsicle, icicle, testing, 1, 2, 3. Sony WF-1000 XM4, windy conditions. Popsicle, icicle, testing, 1, 2, 3. Popsicle, icicle, testing, 1, 2, 3. Soundcore Liberty 3 Pro, windy conditions. Popsicle, icicle, testing, 1, 2, 3. Popsicle, icicle, testing, 1, 2, 3.
The summary for us is in quieter environments and for general clarity, it's the Soundcore that's the winner. In noisy environments, we thought that both pick up noise, so that's kind of a wash. And in windy environments, Soundcore is louder and more pleasant to listen to. While the Soundcore Liberty 3 Pro doesn't beat the Sony at every single aspect, it is very, very, very difficult for us to seriously recommend the Sony to anyone but the most die-hard fans. Just use the links in the description and buy 2 Liberty 3 Pros instead of 1 XM4. When you can get such fantastic value, this fight isn't even close. In fact, it's bullshit. We told you we'd talk about poop.
You've been watching us be immature, and we've been DHRME. Namaste.